Okay, hi everybody. Volume okay?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today to this talk. We have Chase Kelly. Chase has a background in aerospace engineering and currently works on flight simulation software. He's primarily used Emacs for all his programming needs and hopes to share how useful and fun it is to program using Emacs. In his free time, he consumes large amounts of science fiction, anime, and manga. So without further ado, let's take it away.
Thanks. Hey guys. So this talk is mostly for people who don't use Emacs, either programmers or non-programmers, because I wanted to share that Emacs can do everything that you need, whether it's for your development environment or for your text editor. You might say, well, Emacs isn't an IDE development environment, but agree to disagree. That's the meat of this talk is down here, all these IDE features that you can get using Emacs. So primarily I'm going to be showing Spacemacs, which is, I guess, a set of configuration files for Emacs to sort of simplify setup and make things easier to get up and running for you. So a little bit about Emacs and the text editor Holy War, if you've never heard of it. It's VI versus Emacs. Traditionally, is what people have been using on Unix systems, Unix-based systems for their text editing. Basically, in VI, you have this modal type of editing where in default, I think you're in command mode, and you have to exit modes to actually type like you normally would in a normal text editor. Whereas in Emacs, you're always in the mode where you can just type freely. But there are a bunch of control commands that you can use, hit the control key to go, move lines up and down and go forward and backwards. It's a good idea to be familiar with both types of commands, the VI set and the Emacs set. VI is on pretty much any sort of GNU Linux server that you'll find out there. So it's always available to you. Sometimes Emacs isn't installed on some machines. Usually in a terminal, though, the Emacs type of commands where you do Control F for forward, Control B for back, you'll have those that's the default, I think, for Bash. Also, right now I'm not using the Emacs style commands. I'm using the Vim style commands. Emacs can emulate Vim, but Vim can't really emulate Emacs. Oops. Also, they have Snake, if you want to play Snake inside Emacs. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, one second. Let me go back to where I was. What am I doing? Escape. There we go. Yeah, sorry, let me turn on this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Screen Key, but it'll just show all my key presses. So you see to go up, I hit K. To go down, I hit J. L is for left, H is for left, L is for right. So those are the infamous HJKL keys for VI. So this is Evil Mode, is a package for Emacs. If you're using Spacemacs, you use Evil Mode if you want to use the Vim bindings. You use Holy Mode if you want to use the Emacs bindings. The Emacs bindings, it would be Control B instead of H, Control N for next line instead of J, Control P for the previous line instead of K, et cetera, things like that. So anyway, or you can use the arrow keys. So here's some common text editors people use. I don't know why I felt the need to list those out. Some common IDEs, and all their licenses as well. And then there's Emacs, which is the original IDE combined with a Nix-based system. It stands apart from using Vim combined with a Nix-based system because it integrates really well with whatever system you're running it on, with whatever tools that you have installed there. And it's a lot more extensible than Vim is. You can do a lot of other fun stuff. I was playing Tetris and Snake on there earlier, if you saw that. Emacs has been called an operating system that just lacks a decent editor. mainly by the VI fanboys. But now it has a good editor because you just use evil mode. So here's a little bit of a joke picture running around. So you can view your images in Emacs as well. It's not just a text editor. So these are the learning curves for different types of text editors. Notepad, it doesn't take very long to learn, and you just get started. Pico, a little bit harder. I've never used Pico. Visual Studio, you actually, once you get into really using it, you become less productive. VI, you can't use it at all until you know everything, you know all the commands. And Emacs, you sort of spiral down infinitely into customizing it because there's so much infinite customization available to you. I kind of wanted to, I'm running Spacemacs right now, but I wanted to go ahead and go back to vanilla Emacs to just show you guys some basic setup for setting up Emacs and how to install a basic package. And then I'll switch back to Spacemacs and talk about that. Hopefully I'll still be good on time. So another cool thing is I can, in my notes here, I can just evaluate some arbitrary code. So I just moved my Emacs configuration folder to a backup, and now I'm going to close and restart Emacs. Yes, save that. And hopefully this works. So here's what you'd get if you just installed plain old Emacs. No, this is GNU Emacs. You can see the little, I guess, what do you call it, unicorn? I don't know. Is that a GNU? Oh yeah, I see it. I see the horns now. Let's see. I want to go to my org file here. All right, so here's where we were. So yeah, I already talked about some of the Emacs key bindings, forward, back, previous, next. I'm using the arrow keys now, but you know, Control P, Control N, instead of what you might be used to, Control C and Control V, you would use Alt W to copy and Control Y to paste. You can just type normally in here. You don't have to worry about if you're in the insert mode. And yeah, do the tutorial to get all the basics. Oops, it's my computer beeping. So the configuration file, oops, trying to use the Spacemacs commands, is in the .emacs. Yeah, I'm going to skip this part because I do not remember all of the Emacs commands because I've been using Spacemacs for the past year. So let's retrieve my .emacs.d folder. And let's run Emacs again. Uh-oh. So I need to sorry guys. What did I do wrong? So I somehow deleted my backup. Did you guys see how I did that? What did I do? Yeah, well I did rm.emacs. but not .emacs.d.back. So is this right for move? Huh? This is a move. Yeah, so I moved my .back to the regular. All right.
Did Emacs, when you open it, create a new, like a .emacs file?
Yeah, I tried to.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I totally screwed us. .emacs.back. No such file directory. Yeah, well, I would, but I also wanted to show off all the IDE features, which required a little bit of setup. Yeah, this is a flop. So, wait, I see a .emacs.d.back right there, right?
What's in it? What's in it?
Ah, okay, I see what I did now. First, let's try to turn off this screen key thing. So cd in here, move my .emacs.d.back to, you guys tell me if this is the right command. Yeah, I see. And I want to move that back to my home folder. Okay. And I want to remove .emacs.d, move .emacs.d to ABC. Okay, all right. We're saved, okay. Did I use up all my time? All right, so this is what you get when you start up Spacemacs instead. And I'll skip some stuff and just jump right to the meat of what I wanted to show, which is IDE sort of features. Yeah, so if you wanted to install Spacemacs, which I don't want to do under pressure, if you just Google Spacemacs and go to their website, you'll see that link. You're basically just cloning the configuration files from GitHub. And the gist of Spacemacs is that you install things in terms of layers rather than in packages. So if you know you're going to be programming C++ entirely or Python entirely, instead of figuring out what packages are relevant to that, you would just install the C++ layer or the Python layer, and it would give you pretty much anything that you might need. So we'll look at what some of those things are that you get. I guess I should zoom in some. All right, we'll jump back and forth. So another thing about Spacemacs is the key bindings. You can use the Emacs or the Vim style. I'm using the Vim style. And everything is, most of the commands you can use space, followed by some sort of mnemonic shortcut. So if I hit space now, those are all the options. I guess it's a little cut off. But I want to open a recent file. So space FR is the mnemonic for file recent. And I was looking at flight gear, flight simulator, which is a C++ flight sim. And it'll take just a second to load. Still probably faster than Eclipse. So yeah, the main point I wanted to give here is that you don't need to use Eclipse or JetBrains products or Visual Studio, God forbid, because you can get all those features that are offered there in Emacs, and it's easy to set up, especially with Spacemacs. So let me see. Let me split my window. All right. So obviously, syntax highlighting you get out of the box with Emacs. You also get syntax checking at least with the C++ layer. Fly check is the package that does that. So if I type some bogus thing here and forget a semicolon, it should tell me that there was an issue. And sure enough, I can hover over that or something. Parser issue, no semicolon. You get auto-completion. Let's find a good thing to auto-complete. FDM exec. I've never looked at flight gear before, so I have no idea what most of this is doing, but oops. So if we wait just a moment, there's all the options for FDM exec on a little pop-up. You can still see the top of that. Let me move that to the middle of the screen. So let's enable output. You get snippets as well. Oops, do I have the snippet layer? Yeah, so let's say I want to put in a snippet for an if statement. This other thing's really great is Helm, which is a package that, it's not in the vanilla Emacs, but if you install Spacemacs, it'll ask you, do you want to use Helm or another option, which I'm not sure. I really recommend Helm. It has all this pop-up with all the help that you need. So if you're not sure what exactly you're looking for, you don't have to have it memorized. So it's sort of a compromise between having a GUI where you can go click down the drop-down menus. You can just look at all the help here and navigate through it, but you don't have to use your mouse. You can stay on the keyboard. Condition, I don't know, true. Hit tab, whatever. You can refactor some things. Let's say we want to rename this variable. If you don't know the exact name of a command, Helm will help you find it. You can just sort of search for it. So let's see, rtags rename symbol. Save that file, yes. Replace it with ABCD. And it asks me if I want to change all of those. So it's aware of all the symbols in whatever project you're working on. So it's not just you don't have to resort to a regex, find, replace. It's actually aware of all the syntax. Yeah, I am. Let me just do it this way. Yeah, it's asking me some questions to finish things up. And a little bit up here. Yeah, that's perfect. Confirm, no, I don't want to rename that. All right, so we get good version control integration, like you'd expect with your IDE. I don't know if you guys can see that little tiny green plus over here on the side, but that says I've added a new line. Let's delete a line and save it. And I get a little blue diamond instead, and now I see a little red minus over on the left. That's useful. You can blame people who've had errors in your code. So Jeff McLean made this commit over here, whoever that is. Bertrand Cacanier. And really nice version control integration with Git is this in Git mode. You can see I've changed these two files. It provides really easy to access shortcuts. So let's, I don't need to press the space key for this. I can just type the shortcuts directly. So S for stage. Let me turn the screen key back on. I think no. Oh, where am I? I didn't see the pop at the bottom. Discard the unstaged changes, yes. X was discard. S for stage. Anyway, C for commit. That's what I would end up committing. F for pull, for example. I don't think there's anything to update. Project manage it, you get that with the projectile package. So the mnemonic for that is if you hit space P, Those are all the sort of projectile commands. Space P followed by another P. These are all the projects that I've opened recently, so I can quickly switch between projects. Here's a Python flight simulator that I found, and it's asking me for what file I want to open. PyFlight. So another thing is you don't have to have PyCharm for one thing and Eclipse for your Java development. Emacs supports pretty much any language and has all these same IDE, all the same IDE features for whatever language you're using. Built-in shell here. So I think to run PyFlight, you can just do Python pyflight.py. Yeah. Don't know how to control this thing, but it works. For Python, for example, you could also get integrated shell. Yeah, like I said, Helm's really useful. You can just sort of guess what the name of the command is that you want. You don't have to have it memorized. And it'll also tell you the shortcut there for future reference. So I have a little integrated shell built into Python, or built into Emacs. Print. Let's go back to my notes here. Oops. All right, so space WM for window maximize, space BB to list all my buffers, and there's my org file notes. What else? Debugging. Let's see if we can debug PyFlight with just PDB. Run PDB like this, pyflight.py. Well, yeah, I forgot to check that part worked. There's also, let's see if this works. You would use just GDB. Yeah, I don't even have it compiled, so you'll just have to take my word on that. That you can click on the fringe and set a breakpoint. It's a good integration with GDB and PDB. I'm not sure what other debuggers that are out there, but I know it supports other language debuggers. Navigation. Space BB, let's go back to my flight gear, and let's jump to FDM exec. So comma is usually the major mode sort of preceding shortcut. G for go to, G again, and I'm able to jump around the code base and go back and forth. I think there's, I can go just hit Control O, and that takes me back to where I was. So it's still easy to navigate around everywhere. It's one step to compile. Let's see if that's true. I can hit space CC for compile and compile the default target. And so you see I have a nice little buffer down there with some nice coloring as it's working on compiling things for the flight gear flight simulator. Oh. Go back to my notes. Multi-language support. I think I already said it's sort of intuitive if you use the Helm help. If you want to know what layers there are or get any sort of help, just space H for help. Layers will open up a Helm buffer for all the available layers, and you can look at C, C++, for example. A lot of these you do have to still install some extra software. For example, I was using RTags for the C++ stuff. So that's why I said in the beginning that when combined with a Unix-based system is where it really shines, because it's sort of easy to just get that stuff installed. So I just install RTags, select this layer. So yeah, that's how you see the layer space HL. If you want to see your config file in SpaceMax, FED for file, Emacs dot file, TL for toggle lines, and JI for jump, I menu, I guess is what it's called. And you could go to layers. So under your your .spacemax layers. There's everything I have installed. Oop. So a lot of stuff just to try it out. Not that I don't program in Perl at all. I just wanted to see how the Perl layer worked. Yeah, the navigation I wanted to show, so usually in Emacs, I mean in Eclipse something, you'd have a little navigation window on the left like this. So you don't have to give that up either. Aircraft, flight history. There you go. All right, so I think those are all IDE features. You basically can do everything that you could do in Eclipse or some sort of JetBrains product. There's a lot of other cool stuff that Emacs can do. So let's say I want to type some Japanese here. Control / lets me toggle my input method, and I can say, type it in the sort of English, kana, what was I typing? Konnichiwa. That wasn't right. It's konnichiwa. Hajime mashite. Something like that. Oh, I gotta go back to English mode before I can use my normal commands. Org mode is what I'm in right now. That's the reason that I found Emacs. Emacs is the reason I sort of started learning about free software. When I started programming, well, I've been programming for about 3 or 4 years, using Emacs for 3 years, and Spacemacs for about a year. But I got into Emacs because I wanted to like organize my notes at work and stuff, so I saw somewhere, hey, use org mode in Emacs. Another cool thing is you can use literate programming. So you can just like type in an arbitrary language like sh, and it'll execute. If you do Control-CC, hit Y for yes, and that's my current directory. There's some elist you can do. Let's do another one. Oops. Cancel. Python. Oops. Print hello. And execute. Yes. And it doesn't show the standard out. If I just say x equals 5, will it show? Anyway, there's an option you have to put in to show the result of print or cout or whatever. You can put some C++ in that little window there, and it'll wrap it in a trivial main function. So if you're taking notes and you want to share something later with your coworkers, you can just put in some random code and it'll execute if they want to run it or view your notes, or you can just include the results with your notes. The inline latex support is really cool. If I do frac 1, 2, and close it there, and I hit Control X. Let me see if I remember this right. No, that's not. I can't see because of the screencast. What is it doing? I think I've just layered the screencast. Control XCL. Active processes exist. No. Yeah, I have 2 screencasts running now. I think when I toggle one off, and let's see if I can just find the command rather than the shortcut. There we go. Creating images. It's really small. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, 1/2. It was Control XCL, I think, instead of CXL. Spell check. I have spell check on right now. It thinks ERC is misspelled. ERC is the Emacs built-in IRC client. So if I just type in the ERC command, connect to Freenode, port, username, no password. There you go. It's a pretty fully featured IRC client, so you don't even have to leave Emacs for that. Web browsing, EWW, and enter URL keywords, Now let's go to duckgo.com. There we go. So you don't even have to leave it to browse the web. I thought this was really cool. Space S for search, W for web, and W for Wikipedia. And let's search for stall. So do I want fluid dynamic stall, engine stall? Do I want stall man? Tricked you. I wanted the stallman with 2 N's. And so it gives you all the suggestions in the little Helm buffer. And then it'll pull up a Wikipedia in your web browser. Avi is a cool thing. I haven't used very much of it. Let's see, I think space X for text, L for line. I think that's the shortcut I had. So let's just do the name command, Avi copy line. So you can assign it to a shortcut, but basically wherever your cursor is, you can just type the letter there on the left and it'll copy whatever is at that letter. So let's copy G. So there you go. You can quickly name things with shortcuts and use them. I think I already showed there was a little built-in shell. There's a E shell as well, space ASE, which is written entirely in Emacs Lisp. So you don't, if you want to run it on Windows, for example, you can get almost a full sort of GNU Linux shell working for you. It is really awesome to search for things in your project in Emacs. Let me go back to JSB sim and space S for search, A for AG, which is Silver Searcher instead of grep, and P for project. So this is going to search every file that is in the Git project. I don't know. Let's search for, let's see if it mentions Boeing. It does mention Boeing. Engines. There we go. Go right to it. So it's really easy to use grep from there. There is easy access to the man pages. Nicely formatted for you. Info pages as well. There's a nice eLisp tutorial in here if you want to go through that. And if I still got a second, tramp mode is really cool. So I don't know if you guys have seen Over the Wire. If you want to start out learning how to be a hacker, you can go browse files on a remote server. Tramp stands for, I think, Transparent Remote Access something something. So if we log into the first Over the Wire challenge to try to get the password for the next level, I could have just copied this instead of typing it all out. It should ask me for this password now. I think my internet connection is just really slow. I think I'm on the MIT guest right now. But you can browse, we'll just cancel it. You can browse files the same as you would if it was on your local machine. Just go straight to whatever directory, open whatever file with tramp. Oops, anything else? I guess if you guys have any questions or suggestions, we can try out another programming language, install that. You can sort of test me. Do you want to line up or do the mic or whatever? Or I guess you can just yell it at me. I don't care either way.
This is more of a comment than a
Yeah.
The problem I have with SpaceMax, and I played around with it a couple of weeks ago. I also played around with one of its competitors. I think it's called Prelude.
Yeah, I've seen Prelude. There's also like Doom Emacs.
I would accept. SpaceMax takes Emacs, which I'm somewhat familiar with, and changes it into something unrecognizable.
Yeah.
And as somebody also who avoids VI and Vim key bindings, even their so-called holy mode.
Well, I think holy mode has no sort of Vim bindings at all. It's all Emacs original bindings.
Even that felt different enough that
Yeah.
it was. I mean, I'm
Yeah, I think
I'm used
it
to
still
Emacs
uses like the space key.
bindings. I'm not used to VI bindings, and I'd rather avoid them like the plague, frankly.
Yeah. Originally, for like 2 years, I was using just regular Emacs and sort of customizing it on my own. But I found I really liked the Vim ones.
It feels like a different program, and in some ways that backfires for somebody who's somewhat familiar with plain old Emacs.
Yeah.
Even Prelude makes it's still recognizable, but it gets a lot heavier and it gets a lot slower.
Yeah. Well, so I did actually try out Spacemacs once and gave up on it and came back to it like a few months later and decided that I liked it a lot more than when I first saw it. I was just so used to how I originally used Emacs. I really like the keycord package in this vanilla Emacs. If you've seen that one, that's really useful. But I find I don't really need it with the space key combinations in Spacemacs. Yeah, thanks.
Hello. I know you covered Git integration a little bit. Can you please show how you would commit a file and push that commit?
So here I've got my change here. I can just hit tab. So this is the Git status buffer, space GS for Git status. So unstage change, .emacs, whatever little changes I just made. I would hit S for stage, and you see it changes to staged. CC for commit. Hi, if I can type. Control CC, so I've committed that. It says unmerged in the master is the high commit. And so to push, I would hit capital P, and it's asking me, I think I want to do U for origin master. And there we go. We've just pushed, and there's all my recent commits. Stuff, hi. Not very good commit messages. Also really nice is the log. So there's also my history. You can see I had a little merge where I worked on 2 different computers. So you can also see all the help here in the question mark. Let's see, rebasing is R. I don't know. I don't ever rebase anything, hardly. So yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Oh, and also, by the way, if you want to hit $, there's the actual what happens under the hood, so it's not entirely magic. Yeah, so you can still see what's going on.
One reason I'm a little slow to adopt things like Emacs is that I'm a little squeamish about running random things from the internet, and just you have the Spacemacs thing that you just kind of pull from a Git repo or Melpa. I don't know how well these things are vetted. I see that you have Emacs as your username. I take it you keep it all cordoned off in one user. Is that for security purposes?
No, that's not my username. There's Chase there. But yeah, I think it just says that.
Oh, that's just the name of the program that's run. Oh,
yeah,
sorry. What do you have to say about how well these things are vetted?
How well are what?
How well these plugins are vetted and things?
I generally have just trusted them. You could go in and see the source code, I think, for pretty much everything. I think it's all free software. So I don't know if they've been vetted by, I mean, I think there are a lot of users of Spacemacs and it's still growing, so I imagine there's more and more people looking at it.
Okay. Anyway, thanks. I'll get back in line because I have a second question, but I want to let someone else.
Okay.
I'm the ambassador of IRC today. I have a couple questions from the internet. Mark No asks if you could share your org file.
Yeah, I can do that. It's actually in my Git repo on GitLab. It's just W Chase Kelly.
W Chase Kelly? Okay.
Yeah, K-L-E-Y. So you should be able to find it there. It's just called Emacs IDE.
Cool. And
Yeah, I don't think there's a...
Derp asks, is TLS in Emacs still dangerous? Do you know of any plan to fix that?
I have no idea.
All right. And the CLI guy says, what, if any, Emacs integration do you have with your email client?
None for me, but I know it definitely does support using it with your email.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an email layer. Anyway.
So if there's no one else, the other question I had was, it seemed like you said there's kind of a rabbit hole of a learning curve there.
Yeah.
It seems like the information about it seems a little bit scattered. Things that I look up don't seem to work necessarily with my setup. Do you recommend just kind of sticking with that path, or should I read front to back some kind of manual, or what do you recommend?
I definitely recommend. I think I recommend using Spacemacs. I think the documentation is really great for it. I did sort of myself. I started with Emacs and was pretty much familiar with most of it and different things to do with it before I switched to Spacemacs. So I guess take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I think just using Spacemacs, there's a ton of built-in help and there's a ton of well-written documentation. And you should be able to start with just what I've shown you. Just remember the space H pulls up all the different help options. And the Helm buffers can pull up all the named commands, so you can sort of search through what you want. If you know you're going to be programming a language, you can read the documentation for the layer. Yeah.
And does it still get, if you want to install something, do you still use it with Melpa?
Yeah, it'll use Melpa, but under the hood. So to install a layer, you would put it here in the configuration layers list. And to install an individual package that's not included in another layer already, you would go to the additional packages. So here, that's not actually the default Spacemacs theme. I'm using the Doom theme from Doom Emacs, which is sort of similar to Spacemacs, but with less in it, I guess. And a little, for the other guy that asked the question, a little less foreign to, I think, original Emacs users, but I think targeted towards Vim users. That's a Doom Emacs. But yeah, so I have two different packages installed there.
So this is kind of a declarative syntax for that, rather than installing something else, you just have it declaring what you want and it does things in the back.
Yeah. So that's basically the only two things that ever change in the .spacemacs file is add packages there or add layers up above. And occasionally I do have some user config Lisp code down here. So there's all I have for my actual config on top of what Spacemacs already does for you.
Cool, I like that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Someone asked about email clients written in Emacs. There are several that are built into any distribution of it. There's VM, there's GNUS, and there's something called MH-E. And just quick on Emacs itself is very self-documenting. You can do, Control-H-I to get to, the .info hypertext files. And you can have, there's a bunch of others on Control-H for describing variables, keystrokes, and lots of other things. That's all.
Yeah, so I guess this is GNU's GNUS. I'm not quite sure how to use it though, so. Yeah, so I guess that's it.
Thank you.